Welcome to the adventures of Chuck Dewood, an underweight, high-thirst lumberjack with a hearty appetite. He loves a smoke, has a weak stomach, and can't see under his own nose. But enough of the negatives. He's a lucky boy who loves to run, he's wakeful, handy, and possesses the prowess of the blade. I mean, just look at that ponytail. You know he collects samurai swords in his mother's basement. Chuck's ultimate goal is not only to survive in Louisville, but thrive for at least 100 days. But first, we should probably start with the first week. As we're underweight, the first thing I do is stuff my face with everything I can in the fridge. No need to keep an eye on the waistline when there's no one left to find you attractive. And the undead will get you before the diabetes, so enjoy that jelly donut. I find a car key in the kitchen, then fill an empty bottle from the fridge with water and equip myself with a saucepan. In the first room I investigate, I find a lighter, matches and cigarettes, as well as some cheeky bourbon, a way to silence the voices, or a future incendiary. You can probably work it out. Heading outside for the first time, I realise I'm in some kind of Trainyard. But there's no time for any more exploration. 3 zombies have spotted me. And it becomes clear I'm gonna have to upgrade this saucepan pretty quickly. And would you look at that? A zombie with a hand axe and a duffel bag? I'm getting spoiled right now. Maybe this is what it's like to be lucky. There's a first time for everything, I suppose. Using the key I found, I get access to a car in the car park, but sadly it has no fuel. Although in the trunk I do find a screwdriver and an empty gas can. Now I just need to find another car with fuel in or a petrol station and we're good to go. In a little garage area, I find a hammer, saw and a pipe wrench, as well as cut resistant gloves. The yellow, which means it's an amber warning for you catching these hands. Damn, the lumberjack axe combo is a beast. I can't believe I've never used it before. I continue to explore the immediate area, coming across a really cool looking control tower. Although in order to investigate thoroughly, I've got to go through more of the undead. I head inside, and as there's nothing on the ground floor, I head upwards. 4 flights of stairs later, I get to the top. There's a couple of desks that I find more cigarettes in, as well as some heroin. Well, I guess this is a stressful job. For now, I'll ignore the smack. I think we can leave that for at least a month or so. I also find plenty of food in the mini fridge, so I stuff my face with all I can. For some reason, I dismantle the radio, then decide to explore the rest of the area. But to do so, I'll need to deal with more of the undead. Luckily, Chuck and his hand axe is simply unrivaled. After exploring all the warehouses in the area and eliminating a lot of the undead with my trusty hand axe, I decide there's nothing of immediate value in any of these buildings. As you can imagine, they're just filled with basic building supplies. But I do find myself a trusty blue hard hat. I also get a new rucksack from another Zed, as well as some basic medical supplies from a crashed ambulance. No fuel though. Then as it's starting to get late, I intend on settling for the night in the control tower. But to make it safe, I try dismantling as much furniture as possible in the spawn building to hopefully get some boards. But when that fails, I just block the stairs with a trusty cardboard box. I then eat a full tub of ice cream from the mini fridge and fall asleep on the office chair. Although after waking up on day 2 at 2 in the morning and not wanting to head out in the dark and rain, I eat ice cream and sit on my ass before finally doing an hour of burpees. I even managed to get another few hours sleep, and this time waking up at 7:40. And let me tell you now, it's a bloody good thing for that cardboard box. But that means the door has been breached. How many could be below me right now just waiting for the chance at an easy meal? Well, there actually turns out to be none. Until I go outside and meet a horde, that is. Honestly, I can't believe I've never tried the lumberjack build out. This is incredible, I feel so powerful. My plan for the day is to get fuel for the car I found and find a new place to live. Chuck was a simple man. He enjoyed the basics of rural living while also loving the convenience of living within the city. So there was only one place he wanted to stay, Central Park. The overall goal would be to eventually build his own house deep inside, probably around the lake. But for now we needed somewhere more readily made, so set eyes on the park centre on the edge of the park. Thankfully I knew there was a petrol station just north of the Trainyard, but in order to get there I was going to have to eliminate a lot of the undead. But after fighting through the exhaustion, we make it through. I fill up the can of gas, stuff my face in the shop, then head back to refuel the hatchback. Although admittedly I did have to deal with another sizable horde, but it was worth it as I get a hand hatchet off one of the corpses. Then with the car refueled, we can make it out of here. To get to the park centre I've got to head east, and in doing so I notice a trailer and make a mental note of its location. That's going to be important later. I drive past a small housing estate, then down a lane through a car park, and suddenly we're here. The place I'm gonna call home. Sadly, however, so are the undead. Well, I've dealt with hordes fine so far. This isn't gonna be a problem, unless the fatigue from the burpees kick in at exactly the wrong time. For fuck's sake. Still, I tried to brute force the situation, but hunger has crept up on me and so too has my high thirst. Still, I fight on. Drowsiness hits me next, followed by extreme panic. There was simply too many zombies. There was only one thing I could do. Using the bourbon I found the day before, I craft and throw a Molotov sort of. But would the rain dampen my spirits before they had truly begun? Typically, my massive biceps had overthrown the incendiary and didn't set a single thing on fire. I had to maneuver the crowds quickly before the rain extinguished my only hope. I get dangerously close to the flames and teeth and take a risky trip through the trees, but thankfully it paid off. The horde was starting to catch a blaze, and to make things better, the rain had also eased off. I just needed patience for the fire to work its magic, but could my tiring body outlast the flames, even through hunger, dehydration and pain? Foolishly, I tried to speed up the process, but decided against it. It wasn't just bites I was now trying to avoid, but third-degree burns also. The undead had all but burnt up by the evening, and I can head back towards the park centre that had thankfully been unaffected by the burning hordes. And after a little bit of a clear-up, of which tiredness really took an effect, I was safe to enter my new home. And after curing my hunger with snacks from the petrol station, I hydrate my body and stick an office chair in the bathroom and once again sleep in discomfort. After awaking in the early hours, it becomes clear I need to fortify this place, especially as I was sleeping in such close proximity to a horde. Luckily, being in the park meant there was plenty of trees I could use for wood. I even had a sword to cut the logs into planks. But there was one thing I was forgetting: nails. I could nail boards to the windows without them, and luckily I had found loads of them boxed the days previous at the Trainyard. This would be the perfect opportunity to also pick up that trailer I spotted yesterday. However, as is usually the case, the undead intended to make that as difficult as possible. Especially with the fog, visibility was down, and I had no more molly, so it was time to get my hands dirty. And just like that, another 24 or so had fallen to my mighty hand axe. But what was interesting is what I found on a corpse in a black hazmat suit. Zomboid? No, I didn't just have a stroke, that's my pronunciation. No idea, but it seemed important, so I stuffed it in my rucksack. I fuel up the car as well as a couple of empty gas cans, attach the trailer to the hatchback, then steal a freezer and loot everything from inside the shop. It certainly wasn't the healthiest way to eat, but I needed the calories to get my weight up. I then managed to find our way back to the Trainyard. I find another hazmat zombie, but this time with an M16, a hunting knife and a cooler rucksack than mine. This gun in Chuck's hands wasn't going to be of any use, but he could definitely learn a new skill. Over the course of the afternoon, I found everything I was looking for: nails, screws, metal sheets and plenty of spare tools, including a sledgehammer, even some speed in a bin. Finally, I collect some storage containers to store everything in, but before heading home there was one thing I really wanted: a bed. After the previous 2 nights of an uncomfortable sleep, I really needed my beauty rest. So parking up near base, I set my sights on a nearby house. I raid the kitchen cupboard, stuff my face from the fridge and even pinch their TV. But unfortunately, my carpentry level isn't high enough to pick up the bed. But I shouldn't let that discourage us. Today has been a good day. So I spend some time washing the blood off my Lou leather jacket and gas mask before heading to bed. Well, chair. I spend the morning of day 4 organising my loot from the day previous: food, electronics, literature, tools, and finally building supplies. I then install my new freezer, drop off the TV and destroy some chairs and a desk to make room for my future bedroom. The scrap wood from which will be useful in running my antique oven. Then it's time to board up our windows. 4 boards on each side of each of the 4 windows. And in doing so increases my carpentry to level 2. And to make things extra secure, I put 2 filing cabinets out the back protecting the rear windows, and 2 stacks of 2 storage containers protecting the front. Although I'll be honest, I have no idea if this would actually work. Now my carpentry skill is high enough I can go and pick up a bed from the housing estate across the road. Although once again, the undead intended on preventing me. Easy stuff. And then it's just a simple case of whipping out the hammer and picking up the... Oh, for fuck's sake. Fuck knows what happened to the other half of the bed. I try again next door, but ultimately fail. I'm just gonna need to upgrade my carpentry skill even further. So I settle for a comfy chair from the living room, and even find a generator in a garage around the back. I then head home, drop off the generator, although I can't connect it without a magazine, then drop off the chair and head to bed. Well, chair. On day 5, it was time to head out on a loot run. I really wanted somewhere comfortable to lie my head, and in order to do so, I needed to improve my carpentry skill. So I set my sights on the school nearby. The school would have a library, and the library would almost certainly have the books I needed to speed up my skill grind. Although as I'd never been on that side of town before, I made sure to leave nice and early so I had plenty of time to conquer anything that stood in my way. When I pull up outside the school, it's clear I'm gonna have to fight to get inside. And to make things worse, a zombie had triggered a car alarm in the car park, and everything in earshot was coming for me. There were simply too many of them. They were coming from all sides, even busting through the school windows. But there was no way to escape. The undead could surround my car and threaten to smash the windows if the engine stalled. I had to try and lose the horde. But how was I going to lose this many? Could my hand axe take them all? Wait, a quad bike. I knew there was a slim chance I could find explosives in the storage containers. After a quick run past the front, I find nothing. But on the back, I find a pipe bomb and an aerosol bomb. But I didn't get a chance to grab either as the undead were simply too close. So I start screaming at the top of my lungs to draw them away. I didn't need much time, just enough to grab the pipe bomb without being munched on. I also spot an army truck, although I wasn't able to search it because the open top flatbed was apparently locked. Make it make sense. Then after a quick dash, I get enough space to grab the explosives. But having never used them before, I didn't want to accidentally blow my arm off. I equip it as my primary, throw it, and run. Success. The flames were huge and I just needed to remain calm and patient for them to spread. It takes nearly 2 hours, but with patience and perseverance the flames do their work as I circled the school car park over and over. But this being America, I can almost guarantee the school has certainly witnessed bigger losses of life. Once the horde is burnt up, that allows me the freedom to explore the school. First I check the office, finding oxy and cigarettes. But hey, no judgment from me, I'd also need prescription medication to work with little shits. I find the library in the south wing of the school and collect an assortment of level 1 skill books and plenty of magazines, including the Generator mag. But most importantly, Carpentry Volume 2, 3 and 4, and as I'm trying not to get too greedy, I decide that's enough of a haul for today. I can always come back at a later time, especially as the area was now clear. So I make my way home fairly safely, getting back before 4 in the afternoon. And once the undead that followed me back have been taken care of, I settle in for the night reading Carpentry Volume 2. Day 6 starts with me reading an assortment of magazines from the day before while cooking my breakfast of ground beef. Yummy. We then do an hour of burpees in our underwear before reading the rest of the magazines we collected as we wait for the exhaustion to pass. So then it's on to the carpentry grind, and outside was the perfect place to do so. Plenty of benches to be destroyed, and by lunchtime we were already at carpentry level 4. I then make sure to collect all the scrap wood and use it for fuel in the antique oven. I can then start reading Carpentry Volume 3, and this time I even remember to turn on the TV. Heading to sleep at 10:30 and waking up at 5:10 on day 7. And we start to get in a routine of breakfast while reading, this time Electrical Volume 1. Then an hour of burpees to get them sweet gains, but this time I decided to keep the nips hidden. That's for the members only content. I finish off reading while I regain my breath, before finishing what I started a day previous, dismantling the benches out front. And that gets us to Carpentry Level 5. And surely now that's gotta be a high enough level to pick up a bed. But before I get to that, I've gotta deal with a horde that's wandered into the neighbourhood overnight. What can I say? Barely an inconvenience. I gain entry through a window and pinch some bourbon from a dead guy. I then make sure to empty the kitchen cupboards and finally the bed. Well, fuck. I check out the house next door that had been partly burnt down, and for once it had nothing to do with me. Let's try another. Jesus Christ. A level 5 carpenter can't pick up a bloody bed? What a pussy. But I get an idea. Large oak bed 2 or 4 and 4 or 4? Could they be combined with the other beds I've destroyed to make a single functional bed? It had to be worth trying out, even if it was proper heavy like. I grabbed the third section from the first house we broke into, and the second section from the house on a previous day. Then after taking them home and doing a really terrible job of reverse parking the trailer, I start unloading it piece by piece until success. Finally. Then once I've moved the leather chair to cut corner, I can finally rest peacefully at the end of a long but successful first week in Louisville. Thank you all so much for watching. If you could like the video and subscribe, that would be amazing. I'll see you in the next one.